I never believed in ghost stories. Not because I thought I was brave or anything like that. I just always assumed there was a logical explanation for everything people experienced. Weird sounds in old houses, doors opening by themselves, shadow figures in the dark, sleep paralysis, paranoia. I always believed fear makes people imagine things that aren't really there. After what happened to me 3 months ago, I don't think that anymore. My cousin Daniel owned a rental property about 40 minutes outside town. It used to be rented by college students because the price was cheap, but the location sucked. The house sat near a wooded area with almost no nearby neighbors. At night, the road leading there became completely empty. Daniel called me one Friday evening while I was at work. He sounded stressed immediately. He told me the last tenants had moved out unexpectedly almost 2 months earlier. According to him, they left in a hurry after complaining about someone being inside the house at night. At first, Daniel thought they were just trying to break the lease. But that strange thing started happening after they moved out. Neighbors reported lights turning on randomly in the middle of the night, the television flickering, movement near the upstairs windows. One neighbor even claimed they saw someone standing in the living room around 2 a.m. The problem was that nobody was supposed to be there. Daniel asked me if I could stop by the house and check it out since he lived too far away. I honestly didn't want to. It was already getting late outside, and the idea of driving all the way to an empty house in the woods sounded miserable, but he offered me money for it. Easy money, or at least that's what I thought. I left around 8 p.m. The drive there felt longer than I remembered. The deeper I got into the wooded roads, the darker everything became. There were barely any streetlights once I got outside town. Most of the road was surrounded by trees. No cars passed me the entire drive. At one point, one remembered checking my GPS because it genuinely felt like I was heading somewhere abandoned. When I finally reached the property, I immediately understood why people hated living there. The house looked dead. Not abandoned, exactly. Just empty in a way that felt wrong. The front yard was overgrown. One of the porch lights flickered weakly every few seconds. The upstairs windows were completely dark. I parked near the mailbox and just stared at the house for a moment. Something about it felt unsettling immediately, like the house itself didn't want people there anymore. I grabbed my flashlight and headed toward the front door. The air smelled damp and cold. There was no wind, no insects, nothing. The entire area was silent. When I unlocked the front door and stepped inside, the smell hit me immediately. Dust, old wood, and something else underneath it. Something rotten. Not strong enough to identify, but enough to notice. Maybe some local kids were sneaking into the property at night. Then I noticed the camera, mounted high in the corner of the living room. Small black security camera. Blinking red light. I stopped moving immediately. Daniel never mentioned cameras. I stepped closer and realized it was still active. A cable ran from the camera down the wall behind a bookshelf. I moved the shelf slightly and found a small recording box connected to a router. Still powered on. That didn't make sense. Daniel told me the internet service for the house had already been canceled. I pulled out my phone and checked nearby Wi-Fi networks. One signal appeared. HOME2. Weak signal, but active. A weird feeling settled into my stomach at that moment, because suddenly the house didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt occupied. I called Daniel immediately. He sounded confused the second I mentioned the camera. What camera? The security camera in the living room. There was silence for a few seconds. Then he said something that immediately made me uncomfortable. There shouldn't be any cameras there. I slowly looked back into the dark room behind me. Every shadow suddenly felt different after hearing that. Daniel told me to leave immediately and offered to call the police himself. But I didn't leave. Part of me was curious. Another part of me didn't want to drive all the way there for nothing. I told him I'd just check the recordings quickly and head home afterward. The recording box contained dozens of saved files. Most of them were corrupted or too dark to see clearly, but one video from 2 nights earlier still worked. I opened it on my phone. The footage showed the exact same living room I was standing in. Empty couch, dark hallway, front door closed. Nothing moved for almost 2 minutes. Then the front door slowly opened, not violently, just slowly, like someone carefully pushed it inward. But nobody entered. No person, no shadow, nothing. The door simply opened by itself. I felt my chest tighten. The footage continued. The living room stayed empty for another minute before the screen suddenly glitched with static. And then someone appeared sitting on the couch. I nearly dropped my phone. The figure hadn't walked into frame. 1 second, the couch was empty. The next second, someone was sitting there, facing away from the camera, completely motionless. I replayed the footage. Same thing. The figure appeared instantly after the static glitch. It sat there for almost 30 seconds without moving, then slowly tilted its head. Too slowly, too far, like something pretending to move like a human. That's when I heard something upstairs. A loud thump, directly above me. I froze immediately. The house became silent again. Then came another sound. Footsteps. Slow footsteps moving across the second floor. I looked toward the staircase leading upstairs. Darkness. Nothing else. I called out, "Hello," even though I already knew nobody should have been there. No answer. The footsteps stopped. Then I heard something dragging across the floor upstairs. A slow scraping sound, like furniture moving. I backed toward the front door instinctively. That's when my flashlight flickered once, then twice. The beam became weaker. I remember suddenly feeling extremely unsafe. Not scared exactly, more like the kind of instinct you get when your brain realizes something is wrong before you consciously understand why. I grabbed the recording box and unplugged it. The red blinking light on the camera shut off immediately. For 1 second, the house became completely silent. Then every light inside the house suddenly turned on at once. Kitchen, hallway, living room, upstairs, all of them. I jumped back so hard I nearly fell. The lights flickered violently for several seconds before stabilizing. And then I noticed something horrifying. There were muddy footprints on the upstairs hallway floor. Fresh footprints, visible from downstairs, leading toward one of the bedrooms. I stared at them, trying to process what I was seeing. The front door had been locked when I arrived. No cars outside. No sounds except those footsteps. But someone had clearly walked upstairs recently. Then I heard a bedroom door upstairs creak open slowly. I immediately pulled out my phone and started dialing the police. Before the call connected, the power inside the house shut off completely. Everything went black. My flashlight died too. For about 3 seconds, I stood there in total darkness, unable to move. Then my flashlight flickered back weakly, and I saw someone standing halfway down the stairs. The figure suddenly moved, not walking, jerking forward unnaturally fast. I stumbled backward instantly, nearly slipping on the floor. My flashlight beam shook violently across the walls as I tried, keeping onto the front lawn before scrambling toward my car. Something slammed violently against the inside of the front door behind me. The sound echoed across the yard. I got inside my car, shaking so badly I could barely start the engine. As I reversed out of the driveway, I looked toward the upstairs window one final time. Someone stood there watching me, tall silhouette, completely still, no face visible, just darkness. I drove straight to the nearest gas station and called the police from there. 2 officers arrived about 20 minutes later and went back to the property while I waited outside the station, trying to calm down. I remember checking the time over and over again. The officers finally called me back almost 40 minutes later, and according to them, the house was completely empty. No cameras, No recording equipment. No muddy footprints. Nothing. They checked every room, the basement, even the attic. Nobody was there. I kept trying to explain what I saw, but I could tell from their faces they thought I was either drunk or panicking. One of them even asked if I had taken anything before going there. I almost started doubting myself at that point. Almost. Until I checked my phone. The security footage was still open, but something had changed. The couch was empty now. The figure was gone. Instead, someone stood directly behind the camera, so close that only half their face was visible on screen. Pale skin, dark eyes, wide smile, staring directly into the lens. I felt my stomach drop instantly. I deleted the video immediately, or at least I thought I did. 2 nights later, around 2:13 in the morning, my phone lit up beside my bed. Unknown notification, no app name, no sender, just a black screen opening by itself. Then the live camera feed appeared. The same living room, same couch, same dark hallway. I couldn't move. The room on my phone stayed empty for almost 20 seconds. Then movement appeared near the hallway. The figure slowly walked into frame. This time it faced the camera directly. Its face looked wrong, not fully human. Its smile stretched too wide across its face, like its skin didn't fit properly. Then it leaned close to the camera. Static exploded across the screen, and words suddenly appeared underneath the video feed. "Come back inside." I threw my phone across the room so hard the screen shattered against the wall. I barely slept after that. For the next week, I kept every light inside my apartment on at night. Every sound made me panic. Every creak, every footstep outside. Eventually, I moved apartments completely. New building, new neighborhood, new phone number. I tried convincing myself the entire thing had been some elaborate prank. Maybe hidden cameras. Maybe someone living inside the house secretly. Anything logical. But weird things kept happening. Sometimes I'd wake up around 2 a.m., hearing slow footsteps somewhere in the hallway outside my apartment door. Sometimes my television turned on by itself during the night. Once I woke up and found my bathroom door standing open even though I always kept it closed. Then 3 weeks ago something happened that completely destroyed any logical explanation I still had left. I was checking old emails late at night when I noticed a message from an unknown sender. No subject line, no text, just a single attached image file. I opened it. The image was taken from